U.S. President Barack Obama is turning up his anti-Syria rhetoric. Obama says the crisis in the Arab country will not be resolved as long as President Bashar al-Assad is in power.
The bottom line is, I do not foresee a situation in which we can end the civil war in Syria while Assad remains in power. And by the way, that's not a matter of my decision-making. Even if I said that was okay, I still don't think it would actually work. You could not get the Syrian people, the majority of them, to agree to that kind of outcome.
Obama also says Daesh cannot be eradicated until there is not a political solution in Syria. The comments come as Russia has drummed up its support for the Syrian government by battering terror groups' positions in the war-ravaged nation. Moscow has repeatedly warned that calls on Assad to step down will only undermine efforts to end the conflict and take out Daesh. Western countries have called for the formation of a united front in the war against Daesh following the Paris terror attacks. Well, to discuss that further, I'm joined with Mr. Nasir Al-Omari, who is a writer and political commentator, and he's joining us live now via Skype from New York. And Mr. Al-Omari, President Obama, they're essentially saying that the Syrian people wouldn't agree to President Assad staying in power. Does he know something that the rest of us don't know?
I don't think so, but a free election would determine what the Syrian people want, and an election can never happen when you have a civil war in Syria. So the right thing to do is what has been called for repeatedly now for years, which is a transitional political process that guarantees that all parties to the conflict in Syria sit around a negotiating table and find a way out. It's not about the president of Syria, Bashar al-Assad. It's not about individuals. It should be about the Syrian people and their right to choose who rules Syria, I'm sorry.
Mr. Al-Omari, from day one of this crisis in Syria, we've seen that the West has tried to impose its own will, though, with America saying, as President Obama just did, that even if he wanted President Assad to say, the Syrian people wouldn't. How can he make such a decision?
Well, as I said, it's very hard. The whole situation, Syria has turned into a political football. It's no longer about what Syrians want, and it's about regional powers vying to fill the vacuum that has been created as a result of the civil war in Syria. So ISIS, fighting ISIS has nothing to do with the removal of Bashar al-Assad or whether he stays or not. The fight against ISIS has nothing to do with the political process that guarantees for the Syrians the right to choose who rules them, the right of all Syrians to live in their country, minorities' rights being protected. It's really about protecting the Syrian people and the minorities in Syria rather than the fate of the President Bashar al-Assad himself.
And so, all that you've said right now, Mr. Al-Omari, I'm wondering, must indicate and must symbolize how difficult it will be in Vienna, for example, sitting around those negotiating table to come to some sort of a resolution here.
Yes, it's very difficult because, as I said, the whole thing is no longer about the Syrian people, is no longer about Syria. We're really talking about global powers vying to fill a vacuum in the absence of the singular country controlling the world. However, the Syrian people should wise up to what's happening and find a way, because in the final analysis, it's about protecting Syrians, it's about keeping Syria united. That is the way to the future, and there is no other way.
Okay, we'll leave there at that point. But of course, as always, Mr. Al-Omari, we appreciate your insight. That was Mr. Nasir Al-Omari, who had been speaking to us live via Skype from New York.
Thank you.